So why is it called? It went from Goldwater, being Barry Goldwater, Sowell, being Thomas Sowell, and Scruton is Sir Roger Scruton. Now, Thomas Sowell's still alive. You take all three people there and doing well, we should be thankful for that. And we've gone from that to a full right-wing retarded TV show, which is essentially what it's become even now in the UK, which is actually to my disappointment really. And I've actually decided that, after 20 years of being in and around politics, I'm not a well-known name at all. I don't really look for to be a well-known name. I just observe things and discuss things in small groups on blogs back in the days, of course, before YouTube wasn't even a thing. So obviously X, known as Twitter before, wasn't even on the screen, let alone on our phones. And it just seems more obvious by the day that people don't have interest in fixing problems or addressing them for that matter. And the evidence today was actually quite, I would say probably the strongest I've seen for a while. Now, I don't actually blame politicians for this, because they're the ones screwing up, and we're the ones keep falling for it. And even if we were to fall for it, we should demand a little bit more from them going forward, particularly those in charge, but also from the opposition, who we actually are apparently supporting. So just recently there was a story, of course, about Peter Mandelson knowing, we've obviously seen this before, but it was actually just confirmed, and obviously other things are coming out, and there'll be more things no doubt coming out as well, about how he was in touch with Epstein after the fact. So this is after Epstein went to jail. And our Prime Minister knew about this and still employed this guy to be the ambassador to the US. Now, the fact that Peter Mandelson is no longer there, he's under investigation by the police, and I don't think much is going to come out of it, to be honest, for the time being. Starmer was the right-hand man, the Prime Minister is the right-hand man, McSweeney's gone. There are people that follow too. And this is a time when, as things are unfolding, and we see more coming out of the story when it comes to, for example, the scandals that we've seen from this government. One of the most incompetent governments I've seen in my lifetime, especially when it comes to the economy. We've had little growth, as it shows now with the figures. The job market is absolute garbage. Salaries are too low. Inflation's still high. And no one seems to be bothered by that at all. We are, actual people out there who actually do care about these issues, but we don't really hear them, because most of the noise is actually online, talks about drama. That's why I'm just getting away from all now, and I have no interest in it at all anymore. Quite frankly, neither should you, because you are just banging your head against the wall. For some reason, on the right, we have this habit of, when Israel and Palestine go at it, we must pick a side, or we must talk about it 24/7. 24/7. Until the next thing happens, an Islamic terror attack. All these bad people coming in, we've got to get rid of them. Then that obviously clears up after a while, and you had your TV episode of that, you move to the next one. What's happened in the UK? Someone says something controversial you don't like, you want them sacked, or told they must apologise, even though you don't like it when it's the other way round. There's your third episode. Fourth episode comes up. It's going to be about some idiot who decides to talk about immigration again, and of course, people on our side just can't help themselves but talk about that, and of course forgetting what happened literally just 24 hours ago. It's the same story. America has this all the time. It's in their genes. It's now infected us, sadly. Some genes have mutated in the UK. We want the TV show, the retarded TV show. We're not serious about these issues anymore. I wish we were, but we're not. Now, the left, to their credit, much as I despise their division, and the class division in particular, don't stop talking about the economy and how there's unfairness, which is how they win votes. This is how they get polled 20-25% guaranteed. How can they vote for Labour? How can they vote for Socialist? Well, it's because they actually try to address those issues and you guys don't. Because you don't know how to. You're now to argue, make a case anymore. This goes for the majority of people, not the small minority that actually can do this. The majority of people, particularly online, is actually about 99%, I would say. If you actually get a book and read, which I think most people are capable of doing, but they decide not to, they'll rather have a 30-second video of AI slop than actually read a book. That's the problem we have on the right. Read Barry Goldwater's book. It's the first book I read on politics, years and years ago. One of the best books I ever read. I didn't, come out of that thinking, I've now seen the light, I'm now a conservative. No, I actually thought this is actually some good things here. Like, I actually need to look more into them and study further, because he's actually made some good points here. But I need to do some research for myself and see what's happening. And it became a gradual process of what actually means to be a conservative. You ask most British people today, what is a conservative? And even I'll say to an extent you can ask this to Americans or most west of Europe. They couldn't define it to you. They wouldn't know where to start. And you'll get probably about 100 different opinions on it as well. Right? 100 different opinions, because they kind of intertwine with liberalism. This is how it works, with liberalism and conservatism kind of go hand in hand for most things, because of course conservatism about conservative things that actually work, they're actually good, and think traditions we like to keep, right? Liberals don't like that, by the way. They're actually a very small number. Liberals' influence is actually good on the side of, for example, finding things that we could do, that we might have to change, that will actually bring benefits to our society, to our country. Obviously, go down to the local level of the community and also towns and villages. Whereas conservatives are the ones to pick up on this and just get on with it, right? So, if you ask people, suppose you're conservative, they will give you all these different opinions across the political spectrum, and we don't have a philosophy. We do have a philosophy, but no one knows what it is, sadly. That's why I'm hoping that people I've read books on, especially new writers today, would consider writing a book on conservatism. I'm not the kind of person who writes a book, to be honest. I can write things down and notes and put them together, but actually writing a book, like a novel, on anything like that, or theology, anything like that, I could not do it. It would have to be a very small book, but I'd rather someone actually gets a big book, writes it up and puts it together and actually gets people to start reading it. And that can be done in the form of a video as well, if it comes to it, or audio book for that matter. We don't really have that today, because people they haven't got much temper. They've got a short temper. The temperament's very short in let's say the 21st century digital age. Very short temper, and they've got no patience. So there's two factors there you have to kind of think about. Well, we don't have patience for this because we're running out of time. We're all going to die if we don't make this change now, the next election. Because you can guarantee, if Reform were to go to the next election and get the most seats, but not form a government, and there's a coalition of a group of parties from Tories and Lib Dems and so on, forming one government at that time, people are still going to say, "Oh, we'll have an election coming up. It's not over yet." Just regurgitate the exact same talking points. Everything you see online now, whether it's videos, whether it's audio, whether it's tweets, it's all regurgitated. Nothing has changed. The one thing that you had from, for example, Steve Dace in America, he's in a show. One thing about him that you had about the phrase he often used is actually very true today in British politics. Nothing has changed. People just want the show. That's exactly what's happened. Because even with, for example, if Farage gets in, then becomes, I think it'll be not likely next election. But if he was to win, based on his poll numbers, if he was to become Prime Minister, form a government, and try and get on with it, you can guarantee people who saw themselves as the people who thought, yes, this is what we needed, but were making a lot of money, being in opposition, they're going to turn around and say, you know what, I need to change my tune, find a different lane, and re-image myself into something that I'm not, because I need to be part of the show now, and go different angles so I can start attacking these guys from a different angle. That's the only way they can make more money. You have to actually look for the next grift. Most of us will do just, working people just want the government to get on with it. make the economic conditions very good, very safe, or as safe as they can be. Keep taxes low, give us more spending power. Simple things like that, and we'll be absolutely fine, right? But it won't be enough for some people. And this is why I looked at this and I thought very hard and carefully, for a long time, how I could be of any influence, that's all. As one individual, or be part of a group of people, and advise people I can. So many people over the years, who are not big names of course, but people who kind of have interest in politics, where should they start, what should they read up on, and what they think is the best way to go about trying to get into politics. So it's sad because it was actually a combination of things in a very short space of time. So the situation with Pete Mandelson and Keir Starmer, the media did actually a pretty good job, at least a decent job, I'll say great job, pretty good job, decent job, good, decent, whatever you want to call it, of covering it. But the media always felt that, man, we need something negative here on someone else to try and distract from the people, because we can't have Starmer leaving. Because we know if anyone else comes in and it becomes a disaster, and reform will get next time round. This has always been a plan. But I didn't see it that way. And that's the way some people describe it. I always saw it as, it's true that the media are putting on a great job here, and obviously they haven't been doing a great job for quite some time. When it comes to other news stories, I don't see the so-called independent journalists, they call themselves online. They think they've actually got this title because they've earned it, or they just call themselves independent journalists because they think they actually are an independent journalist when they're not. Okay, they're very biased journalists. No, you're not. If you're a biased journalist, you're not really a journalist, are you? They weren't covering up news stories. So then these other people talk about Iran, how they need freedom. It's like, guys, that's nothing to do with us. Then you get these other idiots talking about Israel and Palestine 24/7. I have no idea what Israel and Palestine's got to do with our situation in the UK. None at all. None. I have no idea. Right? Then you've got a situation with this Radcliffe guy, Sir Radcliffe. I don't know how his full name. I've forgotten already. So I don't want to talk about this, but it's all pronounced. So all these things have come up, thinking, okay, they're just stories. They're going to go away, and they often do. But it seems our side doesn't have to respond, right? They have talked more about this guy, Radcliffe, and what he said, and reacted more to the media's angle on this, as well as what Farage has said others, than they have to Mandelson and Epstein. That's kind of when the penny dropped. I thought, oh, hold on. Why do you guys all get distracted by this? This is why I called it this is why I went from Goldwater, Sowell, Scruton to a full right-wing retarded TV show. Because it's exactly what's happened, as predicted. In fact, I think it was some years ago, look at one of the old streams I put onto my channel. I talked about this. And I said that people are not doing enough to make change happen, because they have no interest in getting power. In fact, I even noted that I believe Reform in the UK, and even Farage's name at the time. And I hope to be proven wrong. And I might well be proven wrong, and that'll be actually great. Everybody wins in the end. If I'm right, we all lose. That's the problem. So, these things will happen. Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Never. And it just seems that it's not just Reform, by the way. It's everybody. You must cut in. You must get to the front of the queue so you can say something, which would then, distract. And then we don't talk about the other thing that was actually more serious in this case. How someone who's probably a paedophile himself, by the way, Peter Mandelson, he's probably a paedophile. I'm coming out and saying that now. I'm predicting he is a paedophile. I'm not saying he is. I'm predicting that he is one. And probably at the time, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, who was looking to form his cabinet, probably knew he was one as well, along the rest of the Labour Party. And no doubt people in the Tory Party too. And you know what? Maybe even Reform even knew it as well. Who knows? He was a really close friend, a good friend of a paedophile, who, by the way, Peter Mandelson knew that Epstein was a paedophile as well. So don't be surprised there's anything dodgy going on there between Mandelson and Epstein, and potentially Labour Party, because there are a lot of paedophiles there. And the Prime Minister still standing there in his seat, getting paid a whole load of money when he knew he put someone in power, in a very powerful position, who ended up selling secrets, by the way. So he knew this guy was dodgy. And by the way, at the first time Mendelsohn was actually put to one side, he was still on the government payroll. He was still on the government payroll. And we're bickering about what? You've got people on our side mentioning Ben Habib and Advance UK. I don't understand this crap. You know why? You know why they keep coming back in the news and how they come back on your timelines? Because you make it happen. You need to shut the F up and stop talking about them. Because believe me, the minute you stop talking about them, the minute they go away. You bring it into discussion. Because they know the minute they bring up anything like this, you are going to fall for it. You're going to start talking about it. I just mute people now who I supposedly followed, who thought might be a decent follow on Twitter. I just mute them now. I don't want that nonsense on my timeline. I haven't got time for it. I've been acting in politics a lot more than most of these people who are supposedly big accounts on Twitter. A heck of a lot more. I'm just tired of this shit now. I couldn't care less who wins, to be honest. I really couldn't care less anymore. Here's the actual here's the fix for this, which is what I'm going to be concentrating on from now on. I'm just going to do things that benefit me. Put my energy in things that could benefit me and my family. That's it. Not anyone else. Just me and the family. That's it. This so-called struggle, this so-called quote-unquote crappy movement, is a shitty movement to be fair, ain't worth wasting my breath on it. And nor should you. Because you're wasting your breath. It's such a waste of time. I haven't wasted 20 years of my life doing that, because I didn't get involved in that kind of stuff. I spent 20 years avoiding getting involved in that, so I knew how it would end. How that should be summed up. And we're seeing right now as it unfolds, as the whole thing unfolds. Wrapping up soon, because I don't want the stream to go too long. How it all unfolds, seeing how people are. They want the show. They're not even interested in making good arguments. That's all. They don't want to win. They want the show. If you win and you get to make things happen and everything goes well, you won't be able to do anything online, will you? You can't complain about anything. You actually have to get off your backside and actually improve your life, which is what you should be doing now, right now, rather than listening to other people out there online who say to you, you know, if we vote for this person, it's going to go absolutely fine. Yeah, I don't see how Reform UK are going to cut down on spending, how they're going to fix the national rail system that we have in this country is absolutely shoddy. In fact, it's actually quite shite. Too expensive as well to run, too expensive to travel. Meanwhile, Farage is promoting this idea we should all work from the office, which is even more ridiculous. It's actually one of the worst things he said, because, hate to break to Farage, he doesn't do what we do every day, travelling to London. Doesn't do that, does he? He's barely in Westminster as it is, and I don't blame him. But what about the rest of us? He should be encouraging people to work from home as much as they can. In fact, there actually be quite a few people out there who are actually more productive, and who do already have a social life outside of work. They don't need it in work as well. They've got a job to do, they get paid for it, that's it. Do a job, be productive, and off you go. So we're getting a lot of things wrong here. What was the last straw then? The one that really hit me hard, and I thought, I can't even believe this. All the things that have happened, I thought I'm just going to let it go. Is that Farage decided to open his mouth about Radcliffe. I really don't understand that at all. It was a setup, of course. But this is the second, I think it's probably the third time I've seen Farage fall for this crap. You should be on TV calling for Starmer resignation, number one. Two, calling for investigation to Labour government, who hid this man, who was actually no doubt a paedophile as well. But no, you had to go on about Radcliffe's comments because he just suck up to it. Of course, you want his backing, of course. That goes for anybody else, but it's not just Reform UK, it goes for all political parties of all different kinds. They need someone's backing, someone's approval. You see, I'm like him. He's like us. And who wins, who loses? Well, they win, we lose. Simple as that. I just want one time where it doesn't have to be for arguing anybody, like an actual politician running. Could they stop groveling to the Israeli lobby? Could they stop groveling to the Iranian lobby, or any other lobby for that matter in the Middle East and Africa and somewhere else? Could you stop groveling to business leaders? These people have no interest at all in making our lives better. How about you start groveling to us? The taxpayers out there, the small taxpayers out there, the people who can't afford to have a decent life, who are struggling. Thankfully I'm not on that line right now, but I could be in 5-10 years, I don't know. If I thought things are hard for me, because they are, they're not difficult, but they're hard. People are finding it very difficult right now, and they're struggling, and people even more that are struggling even more than that group of people. Everyone's just falling down, and falling just above the poverty line. I can see why people want to leave the country. It's not to do with just high taxes and that. People are just sick and tired of the country as well as a whole. You want to improve the national rail service, the transportation in this country. Right, you have no interest at all. People should travel into the office to work. Yeah, you mean like travel 2 or 3 hours back way home? It could be back at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at times. That ain't a life. So it just shows to me every single one of them, I don't care whose name it is, on the right, especially on the right, forget the left, on the right, who are clueless, and I think they're starting to show signs of being detached from reality. It's the last thing I'm going to do about this, because I'm just tired of it. Like most people, I'm just getting tired of this. Like, what am I watching here? Am I watching some things that are going to be really good for the country as they unfold? We're going to see some change, or I'm watching a shit show, basically. The full right-wing retarded TV show. That's what it's become. That's the only way to describe it. So, in the end, people make their own minds up. If you think there's actually something good out of this, good luck to you. And I wish you well, by the way. I do wish people like Matt Goodwin well in the by-election, because I hope he wins. He seems like a decent guy. Right? So it's not about being negative, but it's just about a case of, I've woken up to the fact that this is why I think it was probably I think it was Peter Hitchens that said it's over. And what he means by over is like, what is there going to do to reverse this? And do you have the power to do it? Is there actually political will? And the answer is no, there isn't. So you can't reverse it. The decline, that is. That's what he meant by that. And we had, Barry Goldwater tarnished as a racist because of maybe the words he used, but he didn't back down from it. Thomas Sowell being called all sorts of names from his perspective from black people because of some of the things he said about black people and white people. Being black himself, didn't back down. Scruton didn't back down. One of the great writers and speakers we had in British conservatism for a long, long time. Today we have none. There isn't one conservative speaker. You can't name me one. Don't give me these names off the fly because you heard something, you agree with them. You need to sit there one day and say to yourself, I'm going to write down why I'm a conservative. And describe your conscience. Your conscience. Because I can tell you right now, 99.9% of this so-called conservatives in the UK wouldn't be able to write down what conservatism is and explain to them why they're conservative based on their conscience. They wouldn't be able to do it. So I thought, okay, inherently I've heard some people send me Twitter accounts say we're inherently conservative in this country. I would like to believe that, but I don't think we are. What exactly have we conserved in the last 500 years? Everything that we tried to conserve has gone down the toilet. Things are actually good. From a moral perspective, from morality, from values, traditions. All gone. It's all nostalgia. That's what I found out from this. And that's the thing to take away from this, is that it's like a fad. Right? Because you see these people with these Knight Templar logos and icons, the St. George flag, right? It's all a fad. Then when you say to them, oh, you like Christianity, do you? You like the church, you like Jesus, go to church. Nah, I just like it being there. Okay, so it's just a fad then. You're just lying to yourself, you're lying to other people too. You wave the flag because it makes you feel better. It doesn't give you anything at all. Yep, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This country deserves everything that's coming at it now, right now. They deserve everything they get. It's going to be painful, sadly. Some people, good people, are going to suffer, and they shouldn't, but they have to suffer. Because the voters out there, sadly for the most part, are just stupid. Look who we elected in the last election. That's just summing up for you. Look at the last poll number that came out for Starmer. His actual approval rating went up. I rest my case.